Xiao Tong Sun,
Yes.
apologies my incompetence, which is going to talk about an analysis of decentralization in MakerDAO.
Okay, before starting this presentation, first thank you for having me here. And this paper was funded by Harmony Blockchain through ResearchDAO. So now it's time for us to discuss decentralized governance in DeFi. And in this paper, we use MakerDAO as a case study. So first, let's start from background. So currently, most DeFi protocols are governed in the form of decentralized autonomous organization, or in short, DAO. And it was first introduced by Johnson in 2017. So basically, all DAO members are the owners of the organization, and they have decision-making power to the development of it. So if there are any suggested changes to DeFi protocols, so these changes should be written in the form of an, say, improvement proposal. And all DAO members will state their option through governance tokens. So how to calculate the voting results? So it's like the votes are weighted by the amount of governance token held by voters. So here we will have an example from MakerDAO. So first, we can see the title of this proposal is called PPG, Open Market Committee Proposal. And here we can also see some details of the suggested changes. So for example, here they may change some parameters, I believe. And here we can see the results of this voting poll. So finally, the results is the option yes. And since the voting is on-chain, so you will see how many votes that every voter has. So here I put a screenshot, and we can see. So for example, for this voter, this one choose yes option, and the voting power share is more than 20%. So obviously, voters' voting power relies on their governance token. So it is to say, if you have more governance token, you are more powerful in DeFi governance. So the question in this paper is decentralized governance possible? So this question can be related to several points, both in traditional finance and blockchain. So first, we have a very, very important governance problem in traditional finance. It's called agency problem. So basically, for example, imagine you have a company, so you will have board members, you will have CEOs, but usually the owners and the managers will have different, so usually they are different people, and they will have different interests. So sometimes CEO will do something for their own interests, but these activities may not be good for the company owners. So this one is really important. But in DeFi, also in DAO, we know every member is owners and they are managers at the same time. So it is to say owners and managers are theoretically identical. So we want to know what will happen in DeFi. So will this agency problem still work? We don't know. And the second point is about blockchain. So we always say blockchain is not completely decentralized. One famous example is centralized mining power. It is to say several miners may have the, most mining power on chain. And the third point is about blockchain governance. So it is not completely decentralized as well. So there are two papers. So here we will give an example. It's like a few key developers may propose most changes to blockchain. So it is normal. Imagine if you don't understand how to, write some programs or coding, you will not, it is impossible for you to propose changes to blockchain. But all these traditional finance paper and blockchain papers do not discuss if governance in DeFi is decentralized. So this is a key intuition of this paper. And in this paper, I use Maker protocol as a case study, so I will give a brief introduction. So this protocol is one of the most influential lending protocol, which is governed by MakerDAO. So to be simple, Maker is like a bank, and users can borrow and lend cryptocurrencies. Another important point is that DAI also issued, Maker also issued DAI, which is a leading stablecoin. And in Maker protocol, the governance token is called Maker, or in short MKR, and all Maker holders can vote on changes to the protocol. So the basic rule is 1 Maker equals to 1 vote. And at the inception of Maker, 1 million Maker were issued. And the protocol has thresholds, a maximum and a minimum of Maker. So the total circulated Maker will be around these 2 thresholds. So here we give a picture, and I will explain the structure of governance in MakerDAO. So first, we have some off-chain governance here. So off-chain governance is informal. So usually we will have some discussion in the forum. It means that so both Maker token holder and the larger community can express their opinions or something that they want to say. So this one is the informal part. And here we have on-chain governance. So it consists of 2 parts. So the first one is called governance pools, and the other is called executive votes. So the difference between governance pools and executive votes is that, so this part is about non-technical changes. For example, if you want to change the interest rate in Maker protocol, you should try to, say, implement a governance pool. But if you want to change some technical things, you need to launch executive votes. And in the part of on-chain governance, only Maker token holders can vote using the on-chain governance system. So in this paper, I will focus on governance pools, which is on-chain. So here we have our, say, data sources. So you can see the details of governance pools in Maker through Maker governance portal. And to get the voting history, I use MCD voting tracker. And to get some factors of Maker protocol, for example, price of Maker, I use into the block. So in this paper, we use governance pools from pool 16 to pool 663. So after getting the data sets, I will give several pictures here. So first, we can see the number of Maker governance pools daily. So usually there will not be so many polls within a day. And there are not so many voters. We can see the maximum of voters per day is about 700, I believe. But compared to the total users of Maker protocol, I think it is a small number. And then I calculate the total votes and the largest votes in Maker governance polls. So the black line is the total votes in governance polls. And the right line is about the single largest voters' votes. So we can see the largest voter is very powerful. So from these 3 pictures, we may have a feeling that maybe the governance in the Maker protocol is centralized. So to better capture the centralized governance, we have some measurements. So it falls into 3 categories. So the first category is called voting participation. So this part is quite easy. So we will calculate. So given a day, we want to know the total votes and the number of total voters that participate in Maker governance. And the second part is called centralized voting power. So a classic measurements of centralized degree is called Gini coefficient. So we will calculate the Gini coefficient of governance, say, power in Maker protocol. And just like what I said on the last slide, so the largest voter has some, say, voting power, significant voting power. So first, we will calculate the voting share of the largest voters. And we also want to know if their votes finally win. So the relationship between these 2 measurements, so largest share and the largest share win, is that if the largest voter finally wins, we will time 1 here. But if they fail the game, we will times 0. So it's like that. So these two are about voting power of the largest voters. And we also want to know if the largest voter tend to express their options as soon as possible. So just give an example. For example, the powerful voters may want to first express their options so they can influence others' opinions. That's one case. And the other case is like they may want to wait. They may first wait for others' options, and then they can make their own decisions. So this one, we can, illustrate the willingness or say some preference of the largest voters. And the last category is called voting efficiency. So here we calculate a measurement called speed. So it is the total time that all voters need to make decisions. So if speed, this measurement, is higher, it means it will take more time for all voters to make their decisions. And I will skip the formulas here. Okay, let's talk about empirical results. So first, we can see some voters participate in most polls. So in our data sets, we have more than 600 governance polls, but we can see, for example, this one, this guy participated in more than 500 governance polls. So he is really, really active. And we also have this table, and it presents that 10 voters that have the largest total votes in Maker governance polls. So for example, the first one, they have the significant total votes, but for some other voters, maybe they will not even care about governance in Maker. And then we will calculate a Gini coefficient. So in panel A, so the Gini coefficient is based on, say, at the poll level. So we can see for most polls, the Gini coefficient is more than, say, 0.8. So it means within a governance poll, usually it is really, really centralized governance. And in panel B, we estimate daily Gini coefficient where maximum likelihood methods. So we can see there are some points here, around here. It means on certain days, the governance in Maker protocol is highly centralized. And after having these preliminary results, we want to know, say, how this centralized governance will influence Maker protocol. So what we need to do is called factor analysis. It means we will apply a series of regressions. So here, we will have Maker and DAI factors as dependent variables, and we will use the measurements of centralized governance as independent variables here. So in this paper, we consider financial transaction, network exchange, and Twitter sentiment factors. So I will not show some very economic empirical tables, but I will give some, say, summary. So here, if you see an up arrow, it means we will take this one as an example. It means when there are more voters, the price of Maker will increase. So through this table, we can see better voting participation and quicker decision process can increase Maker price. But if the governance is quite centralized, we can see the price of Maker will decrease. And here we can see if we have more voters, the volatility of DAI will be higher. But we know DAI is a stable coin. Their goal is better stability. So it might not be a good thing for DAI. So it means, so better voting participation have some positive influence, but it might be bad for some people as well. And then we will consider transaction factors. So here we will talk about the transactions of Maker and the transaction of DAI. So the table is quite complicated, but the key takeaway is better voting participation and efficiency are drivers of more transactions and a larger transaction volume. So if you believe that we want more people to do more transactions on blockchain, this might be a good thing. It is to say more decentralized governance might be good. And then we will consider exchange factors. So this part is about Maker and DAI transactions on crypto exchanges. So again, better voting participation is a driver of more Maker transactions on crypto exchanges. So it is not strange, because if there are more voters and more total votes, it's nature that some people want to buy more Maker to participate in the governance process. And then we will consider network adoption. Is about total users of Maker, or say the active user of Maker. So better voting participation and efficiency will lead to more users and more active users. It is to say, some people may say, if they observe that a Maker is more decentralized governed, they may say, okay, it's a nice platform, so there will be more total users and active users. But here we can see centralized voting power will decrease the number of total users, but the proportion of active users will be higher. So it is to say, some people may leave if they cannot feel the governance is very decentralized. So the findings here imply that the key selling point of MakerDAO, or say Maker protocol, might be decentralized governance. Okay, here I will give my conclusion, and also I have some questions. So first, in Maker protocol, voters are centralized in a small group. But in the context of blockchain, decision-making power is centralized. This might be because of the, you need to understand programming skills, and then you can propose changes to blockchain. But in DeFi, if you want to participate in governance, what you need to do is first you need to have some governance token, and then you open the website and click the button, choose the option, and then it's done. But why? Why people don't want to participate in governance? So a key question for DAO, or DAO-based platforms or DeFi, a key question is how to incentivize Maker holders. It means we need to have more, say, design about incentive mechanism. And people may say, okay, it's good for me to participate in governance, so I will be willing to do something. And the second point is we see voting power is centralized distributed. So some people may have much more total votes than others. And for each voting pool, the largest voter will usually account for about 1/3 of total votes. But in this paper, we didn't discuss. So this question, will centralized voting power undermine health of DeFi? We don't know. We haven't seen some serious events from my own understanding. But it might be good for us to observe the development of DeFi, or maybe not only the MakerDAO Maker protocol, but more DAO-based DeFi. And the third point is from our empirical analysis. So centralized voting power will refrain the protocol growth, such as less total voters and less new users. But on the other hand, more voting participation and better voting efficiency have positive effects. Like we will have higher Maker price, more users, and more transactions. But remember, larger voting participation may make stablecoin not so stable. So it is to say there exists a trade-off. So if you want to have more, say, stable DAI, maybe you hope the governance is a little bit centralized. But if you want to have better price, or say you want to have better network adoption, maybe you hope the governance is as decentralized as possible. So we don't know. Maybe there should be more analysis here.